We're going to start off with something like a case study, in a way, of Benfica. Too big to fail or too small to win is the question. When you're 33 times champion in your country, then obviously you are a dominant force. But how do you become a dominant force outside of your country? How do you grow when you're already number one? That's one of the major questions we're going to be asking. They, of course, Benfica were twice champions of Europe in the 1960s, and we all know that Eusebio was their star player during that time. He won the Ballon d'Or in 1965, which was also the year of my birth, which people talk about much less, for some strange reason. Could you please welcome the CEO of Benfica, Domingos Soares de Oliveira. Come here. Take a seat. So, Domingos, we're delighted to have you here with us today. It's a fascinating presentation in a minute. Can I just ask you to start off by telling us about the history of your personal relationship with the club?
Well, I was outside the football business 10 or 11 years ago. I was in the IT business, living in Madrid, and I was not even a Benfica supporter, okay, which is a little bit strange. So I had a phone call from a headhunter asking, "What's your color?" And I said, "Well, my color, I'm a Sporting fan." There was a silence on the other side of the line, and the guy asked me, "Do you have anything against Benfica?" And I said, "No, it's a big club, big opportunities," because everyone was aware about the difficult situation of Benfica. So the process went on, and I find myself in May 2004 in Benfica. So that's the way I ended up as a CEO of Benfica.
A Sporting fan. As a CEO of Benfica, okay. You've renounced, obviously, all of this now.
Of course.
Yes. This is a good time to be a Benfica fan, of course, because you've just come off a season. In 2014, if you're not aware, Benfica won everything possible to win in Portugal, which had never been done before.
No.
Yeah? The two cup competitions, and the championship, and the Super Cup, and you never lost a game at home all season.
That's correct. That's correct. It was very good. It is a challenge for the following season, which is where we are today. As most of the people here know, we are out of the Champions League, so we have to focus again on the national competitions. But yes, we are first in the league, and we expect to do as good as we did last season.
Okay, when you get to the top, the question is how to stay there.
How to stay there. That's
okay.
it.
I'll let you get on with your presentation, and
Thank
we
you
have
very
some
much.
more questions afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this is the party we had in May this year with probably something like 500,000 people in the Marquês, and I will move talking about the Marquês because Marquês is the statue you see here, and that's, by the end of the day, what we expect to deliver to our stakeholders. Big short video about what is Benfica today.
This is the Benfica universe. Considered by UEFA as the 9th European club of the 20th century, Benfica belongs to football's elite, being one of 12 clubs to have won the European Cup twice, and the Portuguese club with the most titles won. Ranked 5th by UEFA, Benfica stands shoulder to shoulder with the giants of European football. Between 2009 and 2013, the audit and finance company Deloitte ranked Benfica as the top European club outside of the 5 big European markets. The club's honors are vast and impressive, with 1 Latin Cup, 2 European Cups, 33 Portuguese championships, 25 Portuguese Cups, 5 League Cups, and 5 Portuguese Super Cups. Eusebio is the club's greatest symbol, by far our best scorer with 638 goals, and awarded by FIFA as one of the top 10 players of all time. With such recognition, Benfica has a global presence. It is the largest Portuguese brand and the most famous overseas. Between 2003 and 2014, Benfica played more games in European competitions than any other club, 134 in total. In 2013, our games in the Portuguese League and the Champions League were viewed in 134 countries by 78 million people. In 2006, the club was awarded the Guinness World Record Prize for the largest number of paying fans, with 160,398. Today, 8 years later, the number surpasses 230,000, spread across 70 countries. Benfica has 14 million fans, spread across the world. In Angola and Mozambique, 6 million, almost 1 million in Europe, and around 2 million in the Americas. At Benfica, a network of more than 170 companies can be found, with which you will be able to enhance your business on a daily basis. Benfica's official sponsors have also been of great help to the club's growth. The main sponsor, PT, is one of the biggest brands in the country. The official sponsor is Sagres, an internationally renowned beer brand, and the technical sponsor is Adidas, which needs no introduction. Other, no less important sponsors are Caixa Geral de Depósitos, the official sponsor of Caixa Football Campus, Coca-Cola and Repsol, Fly Emirates, LeasePlan, the Hospital de Luz, and Sica Sal also make up Benfica's official partners. The level of the club's greatness can be measured by its stadium. Certified by UEFA as an elite 5-star stadium, with 65,000 seats, the Sport Lisboa Benfica Stadium is the largest and most modern stadium in Portugal, with more than 12 million visitors since opening. It hosted the Euro 2004 UEFA Championships, the presentation event of the 7 Wonders of the World, and was the stage for the 2014 Champions League final. A top club needs top conditions, which is exactly what Caixa Football Campus provides. The club's training centre has 9 football fields. The main one has 2 stands for more than 2,700 people. It has 62 rooms, with 35 employees working on a daily basis. Being also Benfica's academy, it is currently the home for 6 youth teams, totaling 120 athletes and 21 coaches, and a total of 42 youth internationals. So the athletes have everything at their disposal. There are 16 dressing rooms, 2 auditoriums, 1 conference room, and 1 dining room. Benfica possesses various channels of communication. BTV has around 300,000 subscribers in the Portuguese market. BTV and Benfica's games are distributed to more than 130 countries, namely Angola, Mozambique, Cape Verde, Canada, the United States, Venezuela, Brazil, Luxembourg, Belgium, Switzerland, France, and the United Kingdom, and via live streaming through the site slbenfica.pt. BTV will go down in history as the first and only channel in the world to broadcast its professional team's home games. In addition to this, the club channel can guarantee the broadcasting of Premier League games until 2016, B-Team and Academy games, the Greek Championship, Major League Soccer, and the other sports of Benfica can all still be found on the channel, with 4 editions per year. Mística, the club's official magazine, has a circulation of 115,000 copies, while O Benfica, the club's official newspaper, has a circulation of 15,000 copies each week. The Reds also have a strong online presence. The official website, considered the 3rd best among the 32 clubs in the 2012-2013 Champions League, has averaged 1 million monthly visits and 2.4 million page views, spread over 68 countries. We also have an official Facebook, Google+, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube channel. The club also has a great sense of responsibility and social duty. The Benfica Foundation has worked with all kinds of youngsters and has managed to make a real difference. It is a non-profit organization that promotes sports and education, health, environmental values, and supports adults with social needs. The success of the foundation is notorious, working daily in 7 critical areas of the country. There is a total of 10 schools, 58 partners, and 46 social workers. This is the Benfica universe. The club, the fans, what moves them and what makes them unique. A club symbolized by the eagle, the most majestic and imperial of animals. The one which flies highest, with an unparalleled survival instinct. Both the eagle and Sport Lisboa Benfica are unique and forever eternal.
Okay, so you have an historical situation of Benfica built over 110 years. But this situation in 2004 was somehow complicated And I will try to address the first question, which is, are we too big to fail? So like was mentioned in the previous video, we have 14 million supporters in Portugal and outside Portugal. The situation in 2004 in terms of membership was quite stable, 90,000 for the last 10 years. It was a small group, 5 companies, but all very connected one with the others. And the revenues, the turnover was quite stable with 40 million euros generated during 2003. That was off the pitch. In the pitch, a situation a little bit more complicated. We had 2 titles, which were the national. We were champions in '94, and we won the Portuguese Cup in 2003. In terms of UEFA ranking, we were number 72, no youth teams. We had 5 presidents in the last decade, no training facilities. We were supposed to train in the national stadium. A new stadium built for the Euro 2004 that was supposed to be paid, 160 million euros. The TV rights were sold until 2013 because we had some litigation, so we were obliged to sell the TV rights until 2013. And no shareholders because, as you probably know, Benfica, the club belongs to its members. So there's a company who had some shareholders, but with a very small position. So no shareholders and no shareholders ready to invest in the club. So the basic idea is, if you reach such a club in 2004, especially with the strong story that we have behind us, was there a future for Benfica in 2004? Well, today the group is, as you can see in the top of the group, it's the club, and the club, as I mentioned before, belongs to its members. The members are the one who elect the president, and so every 4 years we can have a change in terms of the president and the vice president elected. The club owns directly and indirectly 63% of Benfica SAD. Benfica SAD is where you have the football department and the football activity. And the rest of Benfica SAD shares are on the market. So we are a listed company in the Euronext. So there's 36% that are on free float. Benfica SAD also owns the stadium, which is a different entity, and owns our own TV channel, BTV. And like we mentioned, it was mentioned by Darren, we finished last season with very interesting results in the pitch and off the pitch. We have today more than 230,000 members. Our TV channel, which was launched as a paid TV channel, was launched 1 year ago. In 6 months, we reached 300,000 subscribers. They pay 10 euros per month. We surpassed the total turnover of 200 million euros, coming from 40 million 10 years ago. We had a good situation in terms of profit. We have a new stadium. We have a new academy. We have a new channel. We have a fantastic museum. So the results of the pitch were quite interesting. But on the pitch, like it was mentioned by Darren, we won everything in Portugal. We were finalists in the Europa League. Our youth team was finalist also on the Youth Champions League against Barcelona. We won one of the 3 titles for the youth national leagues, and we have 42 players in the national team. So in sportive terms, we came from number 72 to number 5. And the basic idea here is to say, is that the end of the story? So are we okay with the results we achieved last year? Should we repeat the same results this season? And you have to take into consideration again your history in order to answer that question. Because if you say just in Portugal, with a so big reputation at European and global level, it's too small for your stakeholders. So despite the crisis we have in Portugal, if we wait and say it's okay that we have a crisis in Portugal, the situation of the Portuguese league is a very difficult situation, we will fail. So when we say it's too big to fail, you can never be too big to fail, because you could have failed in the past, but it's impossible to fail in the future. So there's a lot of projects that we have developed during those 10 years and that we will move forward in the coming years. And we expect with those projects to achieve the results also at the European level. I will spend some time on each one of these projects, not too much time on the ones that you always have in the different clubs, like the Stadium Academy. But talking with Darren, he asked me to focus very specifically on one or two key projects that we have addressed during those 10 years and that we will continue to address in the coming years. The first one is the new organization. So what we did, as the club belongs to the members, is to separate the ones who are elected by the members and the professional structure. So I was invited to run this professional structure, and I manage the full organization with two exceptions, which is the coach and the players. My colleague Rui Costa, which most of you know, is the one in charge for the players and the coach. And the basic idea is that despite the fact that we are probably the biggest club TV channel in the world, probably we are the biggest club in terms of membership, depending on what Bayern Munich is saying, that's not our goal. Our goal is to succeed on the pitch. So you should, all departments in Benfica, have a clear focus on what is the target, and the target is to win in the pitch. So what we do with this is to use a tool called the balance scorecard in order that all the objectives from individuals move until the top of the pyramid to the objective of the president. We have also invested a lot in the youth, and we have now a B team playing in second division. And the work done with youth and the B team, the basic idea is to promote players to the A team. Because we don't have shareholders, as I mentioned before, and the membership is part of our identity, we have to find alternative ways of investing. So if there's no one ready to invest in Benfica on the shares, because even we don't accept that someone can own more than 51% of Benfica SAD. The club has to have at least 51% of Benfica SAD. So you have to find, we had to find alternative ways of getting money from investors and putting that money in Benfica. So three basic ideas. One is that we only invest if we find a way to finance this investment. Just to give you an idea about the academy. The academy is named Caixa Football Campus because the sponsorship is made by the most important Portuguese bank, which is Caixa Geral de Depósitos. And the naming of the stadium pays the investment we did in the naming of the academy pays the investment we did in the academy. But we have also other tools. We launch commercial paper, we launch bonds, private bonds, public bonds. We have a debt that is bigger than on a normal club, I would say. But the main reason is because we have to leverage the money coming from outside because we don't have enough money from our stakeholders. The second important point is that in 2004, and 2005 and 2006, we invest in total 200 million euros in our infrastructures. We stopped that because we have now the stadium and the academy. We have BTV, which are the three big investments. And we are now always investing just in players in the football, which is our main activity. And in terms of third-party ownership, I prefer to call it third-party investments. We have always welcomed people who are ready to invest with us in terms of new players. We had a fund until 2013, which we launched in until this year, we launched in 2009 until 2014. It was a very profitable fund for all the investors. We closed it because we understand that in the coming years, probably there will be a focus on attacking those funds, so we stopped the fund last September. The new stadium, I will not spend time on this, just to tell you that we construct a lot of commercial areas. Those commercial areas, the revenues we get from the commercial areas are good enough to pay the debt related with the stadium. In fact, the stadium will be fully paid in February next year, in February 2015. And the academy, as I mentioned before, it's also paid today. The basic idea here is that we need an aspirational infrastructure. So we need the players who live here, the young players who live here, to try to move to the A team and to have that aspiration. The only thing that is a little bit different in our academy from other academies is the last point in this presentation, which is the 360 football simulator. It's a kind of a box like the one you probably saw already from Borussia Dortmund. The difference here, there are two basic differences, which is instead of shooting to a wall, you shoot to a LED net where you have images. So instead of just having colors, you can have a goal, you can have players, you can have movements, and that makes a lot of difference in terms of the way the footballers or the athletes use this box. Our lab, no big difference from other labs. The good thing is that we have a lot of information coming over the last 10 years. We try to control the players. We were in discussions before about nutrition. We work a lot with the families of the players in order to control them outside the Caixa Football Campus. And we have a specific program for the youngest, for our elite players. In terms of trading, well, I call it the fourth dimension. And yet the basic idea of the fourth dimension is because usually when you look to the Deloitte report, you always see commercial, you see TV rights, and you see gate entrance. And that's the three dimensions that Deloitte always look to the clubs. With those three dimensions, the maximum revenue we can generate in Portugal is quite small compared to our main competitors in Europe. So we integrate trading as part of our business. We need to generate money from buying and selling players. And that's the basic idea around trading. There are three aspects extremely important here. One is, of course, the scouting. The second one is the coach. And the coach, the way he develops the players. And the third one, of course, is our ability to sell. And our ability to sell depends on your track record. Porto did a fantastic job in the last 10 years. I think we're doing a very great job in this area for the last 5 years. The use, again, no rocket science around the use. We have an elite group of 16 players, so among the 156 players who are today working on Caixa Football Campus, we have 16 that we follow on a very specific way. And the idea is that all coaches, not just the one who is coaching these young, all coaches follow those 16 players. And the results is that we are planning for next season to integrate at least 3 players in the A team. And the results are coming now from what we have done in the last 10 years. In terms of membership, it would take a lot of time to explain our strategy regarding the members. Yesterday night, we were having discussions about social media and the way we could use our fan base in order to generate more business. In our case, we are a little bit more conservative. What we try is to generate benefits to our members. And so if you go to a gas station, you get an immediate discount of 6 cents per liter. If you go to the supermarket, you get a discount. And the basic idea is that you get a discount. So the fees you're paying, I'm paying, for example, as a Benfica member, 156 euros every year. The basic idea is that at the end of the day or at the end of the year, you get a report from the different discounts that you had to explain you that you won money being a Benfica member. And the second basic idea, which is something that we launched in 2005, is that to become a member, it should be something very natural. If you have to go through filling a form, it will take you time. If you just buy a box, and because you bought the box, you are a member, and when you have time, you just send the information from yourself to the club, it's much more simpler. When we launched this kit, what we call the kit, the member kit, we got 60,000 new members in 3 months. And so those are the two basic ideas around membership strategy. On Benfica TV, which we call now BTV, it's amazing, really, to go from 0 to 300,000 members who pay you 10 euros per month. It's a great story. So we decided, because in Portugal the rights are not centralized, we decided to try to explore the rights by ourselves, and we buy some additional content like the EPL and the Major League Soccer. We bought new sports. For example, we are now showing UFC fights in Benfica TV, but the results are incredible. We were collecting from the operator, the TV operator, until last season, 7.5 million euros. We are now collecting 30 million euros. And the trend is growth in this area. We have now new contracts outside Portugal. So it's a huge and impressive project in order to generate additional revenue for Benfica. The problem is how to deal with our rivals. Our rivals always say that the matches that we show, the comments that are made around the matches are not that independent. We say the same thing around the guy who is showing their matches, so it's okay. And finally, the international strategy. We are a club in the southern part of Europe, in a small country, but there are some important points that we have in order to extend our international strategy. One of these is we were the club who played more matches in the last 10 years in Europe. So the exposure of the brand associated to Benfica is quite high. The second one is that we are in the heart of the Lusophonia. Lusophonia is all Portuguese-speaking countries. We have 300 million people. So if we are able to put those two things together, we can work on our international strategy. But it's only possible if the A team, the B team, the channel, the merchandising is ready to follow. If you define that Vietnam is a key market, but you don't have your teams ready to go there and your channel ready to go there, then it will not work. So the idea is, do we want to stay at home or do we want to move to Europe? And in conclusion, you know that sports performance is always linked with the ability to pay high salaries. And it's like that. You look to who won the Champions League in the last 10 years, and it's the big clubs. And the big countries, if you look to the way the market is progressing in the 5 big countries, is different from the way it's progressing in the smaller countries. So for a country like Portugal and for a club like Benfica, there are different challenges. The challenge is to innovate. And in order to create new sources of revenues, the challenge is, of course, to perform better with less resources. And the challenge is, how do we see ourselves? What's our role? And how do we see, and who do we see in the battlefield? So we don't know if we are today ready to win. We are small, but we might win. The right idea is that you have to move forward doing the right things, that when the time comes, and the time will come, we will succeed also in the pitch. Thank you.
Thank you. Please sit down. Domingos, one of the most striking things that you told us about is this TV deal. I think it's a pretty unique situation where you managed to negotiate the right to broadcast your own home league matches on your own TV station. So nobody can watch Benfica matches at home if they don't have the subscription to your TV station. Is that the case?
That's the case.
How did you manage to do that?
Well, because we took the advantage of, we have a similar situation regarding Spain, which is the rights are not yet centralized. Mm-hmm. I think they will become centralized, probably in 2018. That's my view. Until then, what we have to do is to show the value of the content, okay? And the amount of money we can generate. And eventually, and that's the reason why I say that BTV is not only a TV channel, but it's a possible generation of cash through the equity of the channel. Eventually, we'll have to open BTV in terms of shareholder structure to other clubs or to other investors. The way we did it is to work with the different operators we have in Portugal. We have 4 TV distributors in Portugal. We negotiate with them a minimum fee, which is quite high. Mm-hmm. So we took the risk out of our mind and out of our business to them. The good thing is that the revenues generated by BTV were good enough for them in order to support this fee and good enough for us.
10 euros a month 300,000 people paying. Wow.
Plus, because in fact, when you are in Portugal, if I sell my TV rights, I'm selling 5 different things. I'm selling the TV rights, the advertisement in the channel, the advertisement in the pitch, what we call the first line, the international rights, and in Portugal, in some years, you have to resell 1 or 2 matches to an open channel, to a free-to-air channel. Mm-hmm. So in fact, this year for sure we will generate more than 30 million euros. And because there's a lot of money in the TV business.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I work for a company which broadcasts the Portuguese league in France, but we don't have your matches at home, so we have many frustrated subscribers.
So ready to sell you.
Okay, excuse us for a few minutes. That's obviously a really interesting thing for people to be thinking about in the future. It depends on the country and the way you can negotiate, but that's a very interesting situation for you guys. Yeah. You talked about how the club belongs to its members. Is that sometimes a brake on your ability to growth?
Well, it is for sure. Okay, it's very difficult to deal with thousands of owners who think that they are the ones who could really take the right decisions. Okay, I was mentioning that also this morning, saying that I go to my coffee every morning to take a coffee, and the guy who is giving me the coffee, if we won yesterday, you're doing a fantastic job. If we lost, he will say me, I will not serve you the coffee, or you're doing a terrible job, or you should not allow this player to play, or you should fire the coach, etc. So it's a situation because they are members, and they always show their cards, saying, listen, the club belongs to me. So it's very, very difficult. Now, the good thing is that, as I mentioned before, there's elections every 4 years. In the past, it was every 3 years. This president was elected the first time in 2003, so he went on elections 2003, 2006, 2009, 2012, and he was re-elected. And by the end of the day, it's a little bit like any shareholder. If you're delivering what he's expecting, then he will support you. What, for me, for example, coming from another industry, took me some time, is to understand what are the stakeholders looking for. In the case of Benfica, I always thought that it was EBITDA, profit, etc. That was really important. And it's very strange because they don't want to hear about that. Well, if you're losing money, they will worry. But they don't want any benefit. In fact, there's no benefits for these members except one thing, which is to win in the pitch. So that's the first thing. The second one is that very often when we are having discussions with investors, and for example with banks, I'm always going to the meeting thinking I'm going to talk with the banker who owns the Benfica account. And I find myself talking with the Benfiquista that works in the bank. It's the same person, but the ex, if I change the conversation during a certain period to the coach or the player, then you stop the discussion and it becomes irrational.
Yeah. How do you resist the pressure that comes from the fan base, which owns the club, but also the general opinion? You know, this is something in football which Arsene Wenger was talking about recently. You know, he spends more time now talking to the media than talking to his players. Pressure has built on football clubs with the social media, obviously, and TV and radio. There's more and more places for people to vent their frustrations. How do you cope with those changes? Because we just said in 2014 you won everything. But in 2013, for those not familiar, Benfica almost won everything, but in fact won nothing.
In the last week.
Yeah, maybe you could tell us about that and also how you resisted the pressure to fire the coach, because everybody wanted him out.
Well, in 2013, just to give you a little bit the dimension of the frustration, we played the Europa League final against Chelsea. We lost 2-1. 3 weeks before the end of the National League, we were 5 points ahead of Porto. we lost the league in the last match. We played the cup against Guimarães, which is a small team. We lost 2-1 when we were winning 10 minutes before the end of the match. So that gives you a little bit the dimension of the frustration. So you saw the party, just imagine these guys, instead of being in a party, scratching you and punching you because you didn't deliver what they were expecting. And yes, the press and the members and the fans, everyone was saying, you have to fire the coach. Which is, in other times, they would say, you have to fire the president. Okay, now they say, you have to fire the coach. And the decision was quite easy. Even in the board, the majority of the board, of the vice presidents elected, were against the coach. So it's quite easy to take such a decision, because in fact, the contract, the coach contract was ending in that season. So when you take the decision to renew the contract for an additional 2 years, you have to be sure about what you're doing. And our basic idea is that although the results were not there, the things we are doing are quite right. Okay, we failed here and here and here. This is something that we can rectify, but it's not because of the coach. So we took the decision, we start the season. I told my guys, I said, listen, we're going to start the season with -5. Although we were at 0, we were at -5, but we will succeed. And we went from -5, which in fact, we were 5 points behind Porto in the third week, and then we improved and we won everything. But it's very, very difficult, and the media in Portugal, as well as in Spain, I don't know how it is in the other countries, they think that they are able to manage the club, the squad, the guys we're going to play, the sales and the buyers better than you. So the pressure is there.
So you resisted all the noise telling you to change the coach, you kept the guy, and then you won everything. Well done.
Thank you.
A question about the third-party ownership, which you mentioned in the presentation. How important was that in recent years for Benfica? Because you have a good track record in recent years of finding players and then selling them at a great profit. You know, people like David Luiz, you sold to Chelsea for a big profit. Matic, the guy who also went back to Chelsea. You have a good relationship with Chelsea.
That's a very funny situation.
But how important during that time, in those recent years, was the third-party ownership question? Because we're going to be talking about that later on another panel.
Well, there's a period where we don't want to continue increasing our debt, okay? I like to say that there's a correlation between our debt and the way our revenues increase. So I don't want the debt to increase more than the revenues, but I say that to have debt is normal. Okay, I think that you have, especially if you don't have shareholders who are ready to put money, you have to live with that. Now, at a certain point, we said, I cannot continue increasing my debt. I'm going to move on a different direction and to share risk in investing in players. In some cases, we have already the players. In other cases, we're going to buy the players together with someone who will support partially the investment. So we manage that quite well. I think that the guys who invest, especially in Benfica Staff Fund, because Benfica Staff Fund, we raise 40 million euros on something like 20 players. And those who invested in the players, they took some risk, but by the end of the day, when we've closed the fund in last September, the result was okay for everyone, okay? Without that, we could not have the same squad for sure. So when I was talking with UEFA 1 year ago about the funds, and they said, well, but this is money that will move out of the business in terms of football. I said, listen, if I have a loan, the money will move out of the business because it will go to the bank. If I have a shareholder, once I pay the profit to my shareholder, he will spend the money somewhere else or eventually in the football. But you have to accept that he will spend the money somewhere else. So I think we like to call it the third-party investment rather than ownership. It's okay. I understand the fight. I don't agree with it, but if those are the rules, then we'll move to a different direction.
Do you have players today which are still partly
We have, I think, 2 players which are partially owned by us, and the rest we own everything. But yes, there are very interesting stories about the way we work with the investors who built Benfica Star Fund. Just to give you the example about David Luiz. We were trying to sell David Luiz at a certain moment because we need to sell him. He was trying to go away. We failed a negotiation with a club also from UK, and then finally we reached an agreement with Chelsea. And Chelsea was saying, we don't want to pay the money you want, but we will pay you, the figure is public, we will pay 25 million euros plus a player that is not playing in the squad, which was Matic, okay? And we asked the guys from the fund, you have 20% of David Luiz, do you want to get 20% from the 25 million plus 20% of Matic? And they said, no, we don't know the guy, so it's very difficult to invest, etc. No one ever appeared with this guy in the radar. And so we bought to the fund the 20% for 1 million euros. 2 years later, we sold Matic for 25 million euros, again to Chelsea. So it was a fantastic deal, but don't ask.
Okay, yes, we like Chelsea, obviously. A question before I open up to the floor, because perhaps this is a story which not everybody knows. You've played in 10 European finals, but the last 8 have all been losing finals. I'm sorry to bring this subject up. No, because this is an incredible story about the curse of Bela Gutmann, which everybody in Portugal knows about, maybe lots of you in the room too, but I'm sure there are some who are not aware of this curse that was put on the club. Can you just tell us about that?
Well,
great story.
This was in '62, so very important things happened in '62. But Bela Gutmann won the Champions League in '61 and '62. And then he said, I will leave the club. And,
he was the manager,
he was the manager, so he was the coach, and he said, I will leave. And he was trying to have a reaction from the president at the time, and he said, if you want to leave, you can leave. Then he announced, you will never win again twice the Champions League. That was what he said. It's written. But everyone today says that he said, you will never win again any European competition. And we went on different finals. The last 2 were in 2014 and 2013. And we are not winning, so we didn't deliver. So one of our vice presidents, last year when we lost against Chelsea in Amsterdam, he said, it's Bela Gutmann's fault. So let's raise a statue of Bela Gutmann, which is something like 2 meters high, and let's put it in the entrance of the stadium together with Eusebio. So we built the statue 2 meters high, which is in the front door of the stadium, and we said, let's go now to play in Turin against Sevilla, and we will win. And just in case, there was a replica, something like this, and I took the replica with me, and when we had the dinner with UEFA, the guy was doing your job. He asked me, so are you ready to face the Bela Gutmann history? And I said, listen, we brought Bela Gutmann with us, so tomorrow we will win. And we didn't. So.
Still looking for a solution to that problem. Thanks very much. Do we have any questions from the floor? Put your hand up and we'll give you a microphone if anybody wants to ask a question. No, I think we did such a good job that we covered all the bases. Oh, hi, here's a question here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, very interesting. You spoke about the problem of Portuguese teams, but it's a problem of the vast majority of countries in Europe to fight against the big 5, the so-called, perhaps not even 5, 4 or 3 biggest markets. And are you not trying to lobby with all these middle-sized leagues in Europe or clubs to change a bit the situation? To have more incomes, for example, from European Cup competition or other ways of balance a bit the situation?
I think it's, well, answering your question, we are not lobbying for that. I see with some concern the trend today, which is not only moving for the big countries, but also for the big clubs in the big countries. And I don't say that this will kill football, but because I think nothing will kill football. And we are in a very special industry because it's very difficult, even in Portugal, to see a business with the growth that the football industry is delivering in any country. So football is there and it will remain there. The issue being that if football at a global level will only be played between 10 big clubs, then I think it will jeopardize a little bit the spirit behind the competition. But we had, for specific reasons, we had many difficulties in the last months with the Portuguese league. We just replaced the president of the Portuguese league, and we will expect him, we are expecting that he will now, after solving the problems in Portugal, he will try to move forward, working with other leagues in this problem.
Yes, sir, in the front row. There's a microphone.
Obviously, you own the stadium. You bought the stadium, your own stadium. You're a football club, so how do you manage to commercially exploit a stadium, which is actually another business than a football business, next to the normal games you have?
Well, the investment we did in 2003, the decision was taken in 2001, and the project was ended in 2003. The total investment in the stadium, plus the pavilions, plus the swimming pools, plus the commercial area, were 162 million euros. We established, together with the Portuguese banks, a project finance that, together with the contracts that we had already at the time, just commercial contracts. So instead of having a naming for the stadium, which we didn't find at the time, we had the stances were having namings, Coca-Cola, Sagres, Portugal Telecom, etc. The pavilions were having namings. And the total revenues generated by those namings, plus the 156 boxes that we have and that were bought by companies with 5 to 10 years contracts, were good enough in order to cover the investment we did. So that's the reason why I say that in February next year, we will end paying the stadium. Now, the challenge is, in the pavilions we have a lot of activities because you have all kinds of sports and you have from the under 5 until the plus 65. But the stadium, you need to generate more operations than just the 27 matches that we have at home. So there's a big focus on companies to use the stadium and our facilities as a privileged place to make corporate events.
Hello. Where do you see the opportunities for increasing your revenue in years to come?
Well, if we stay, like I mentioned, if we stay in Portugal with the crisis that we have today, we'll have difficulties in big increases. Of course, you have the players, but we cannot sell the full squad every year in order to generate additional revenue to build a new squad. There's been a huge change in those 10 years between two things, B2B and B2C. When I joined the club in 2004, B2B and B2C were very similar, so 50% from one side and 50% for the other side. We now have a situation where B2B business, it's 75% of the total business. So if we can increase our business is around the B2C area. So we launched different projects in the last year around two basic ideas which are linked, which is engage and monetize. And of course, there's a lot of things around social media, which I will not talk about, but it's one important part of the work that we have to deliver. A second one is that although we have a 65,000 seats stadium, our average attendance is 41,000. So we need to increase the number of people who are coming to watch a match. And those are the areas that we will work. It's mainly around engagement monetization. And of course, we have to move outside Portugal, and we have 2 countries, especially Angola, which is a very rich country, where we have more than 5 million funds just in Angola, and we can develop a lot of business there.
Got a gentleman here.
I would like to know whether the introduction of the financial fair play, in your opinion, does it have any impact on the club to come nearer to the big clubs, or is it neutral?
Sorry.
The impact of financial fair play.
Oh, sorry.
On your club.
Well, financial fair play is welcome, okay? And I think that even for clubs such as Benfica, we prefer to develop our business on a very strong situation in financial terms. So when I say it's welcome, it's welcome. Now, the consequences of not respecting financial fair play are different from club to club. And the rules from UEFA are not yet that clear. We know that Paris Saint-Germain and Man City got a penalty, got a fine for not delivering the right results. Sporting Portugal 2 years ago, they delivered a loss of 40 million euros. Porto last year, they had a loss of 40 million euros. And I don't know if the rules applied to PSG and Man City will be applied to a smaller club. It will destroy this club. So again, I say it's welcomed. I think that the clubs will have to follow those rules. It's good for the business. There are different situations. If I have an Abramovich investor, it's different from having a membership, but that's the situation. Okay, I have to deal with it. So again, it's welcome, but be careful with the way UEFA will penalize the clubs who are not delivering the rules defined by UEFA.
Okay, I think we're going to have to call it a day there. If you have any more questions, obviously, we'll be around during the lunch break to come and have a word with Domingos. And thank you very much for your presentation, your participation. Well done.